an update in mastering presentation. I'm kidding, but just in case. Okay. So most of you all know why Freeman Biological Science is a really special textbook. It's always been a really how students think like biologists text. That is the tagline of this text. They want students to think like biologists, to really immerse themselves in the content and see how this applies to their lives, and shift them away from memorization of these topics. So one of the things that I really love about the author team, and this is just some bullet points of some of the content updates that have been made to it. And I'm going to highlight a couple here. So one of the two that I want to highlight here is the first bullet here. So the lead author of Freeman is Kim Quillen, and Kim Quillen has been investing her time and research heavily into diversity, equity, and inclusion for many years. I'm really glad to see that topic be more widespread across universities and college campuses across the country. But that's really important to Kim Quillen in particular. So more than ever, this revision enabled them to make more updates to highlighting diversity, so students can really see themselves in roles and in careers that relate to biology. So that's something that you're going to really notice in the eighth edition, in the e-text, in the online component, and in the physical text. And the other, well, let's see here. So a good example I like here is let's see here, it's the fourth bullet where it kind of talks about land plants. It starts with land plants, chapter 28. And one thing I like to note here, the reason I'm calling out this bullet point is, you know, in my years in working with the biology team, I've heard a lot of feedback on what it means to have a textbook revised. And not every publisher is created equal. And one thing that I can tell you is that at Pearson, it is not hey, we're going to change a few words here and there. We're going to add one new picture in the entire textbook. That's not the way that Pearson works. And one thing that I love is we're also not just going to throw a whole bunch of content in there. All of you have different backgrounds and different passions, and you want to bring those up. But the authors have really carefully considered what to update content wise. So a good example here is that fourth bullet point, and it talks about, the example, the details of flowering plants have been condensed to reduce the duplication with other chapters. So that's a good example of how our team is not just say, hey, let's add in all this new content, let's add this here, let's add this there. This is a careful rethinking of the entire text as a whole. So I really think that sets us apart. It really sets us apart, in my opinion, from open educational resources, because these authors really carefully think about this. They're a team, they're a group, they are not islands onto their own. So, but you will have the full list of changes. One of the other things, so I'm just going to pinpoint a few before I hand it over to April to talk about AI, is a new human angle feature. So this is incorporating a couple different features here, but this one really, in my opinion, it really highlights that that inclusion angle that Kim is very passionate about. So this is going to help students feel that sense of belonging, and they're going to be able to see different individuals and different careers and, in that learning space, and see how they could be involved in biology. And it's so amazing, the different roles and opportunities and careers that students could have in their future. So this is something that you're going to see woven throughout the text. Okay, so the check your learning, you guys are familiar with the check your learning probably at the end of the chapter. These are going to now have some questions that are tagged as reflect questions. So what this means is that this is an opportunity for students to really apply some of those mindset and metacognition ideas and really weave those into the text. And these are also going to be assignable in mastering biology. So, which I think this is really, really cool. So, how did you do? What approaches were most helpful for you as you were studying, as you were learning, as you were answering questions? So I think this is really cool. I was reading I was reading a text it wasn't a text, I'm sorry, it was a book. I was reading a book about teaching my children about finance. And one of the things that I thought was wonderful is an example in the text that I was reading was that a parent at dinner every night, instead of saying, "Hey, how was your day at school, children?" she said, "What was a question that you asked at school today?" And this reminds me. So when I saw this new feature in the new edition, I said, this is amazing. I love this idea of students thinking about questions they've asked and thinking about their day and what they did best and what helped them. So I love this new feature. I think this is great. And you're going to see, of course, the bio skills is something that you guys are very familiar with. So now there's bio skills on metacognition. So it introduces students to that thinking and learning. Metacognition is sometimes not always taught in biology courses. Sometimes, if you have a lot of business students or MBA students, they're going to be taught metacognition and mindset. But I think this is pretty cool to have that in our bio skills as well. All right, and then the biology and numbers activities. So these are going to have, so it's nice because there's already hundreds of videos in Freeman. And so these new videos are going to have, they're going to support development of quantitative reasoning. So we're talking biology and numbers here. And that's something that the Freeman author team is very passionate about. They always want to give students an opportunity to have some data here to see, where this comes from. And this will also be in the e-text and mastering. All right, so there's some features that are going to be in Mastering Biology, and these are a part of our slide deck. However, April and Corey and I really want to show you all some of these live. So at this point, I was planning on handing it over to April to talk about Pearson's exploration into artificial intelligence, which we are so excited about.
Kelly, I'm going to run through my 4 slides first.
Oh, sure. Sorry. Do you want me to share?
And if you don't pull them up, yeah, that'll be fine.
Absolutely.
And then I'll get into the courseware and show it to you.
Sorry, it's kind of slow here.
That's okay.
It's just not going to the next slide. Okay.
Waiting.
Hold on one second.
I'm not.
All right, it's being very slow, so I'm going to refresh this.
What's that? Oh, refresh. Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to refresh it really quickly.
Okay. So I'll just get started talking about it while she has those few slides. But we introduced artificial intelligence, our AI-powered study tool, very catchy. So we really wanted to make sure that everybody's using AI, right? I mean, are you guys familiar with people using AI? How do you feel about it? Never heard of it.
I don't know. I feel like some of our biggest problems are students using AI to cheat on their lab assignments. And so
That's right.
From my perspective, it's been primarily a negative.
Yep.
I would love to hear a constructive, positive.
Okay, good.
I would use it to build actual intelligence.
That's wonderful. Yeah. Yeah, I think that in the space of education, and I guess maybe in the space of anything, some people are using it. It is being used to cheat, right? It's just being used to get the answers. And Pearson is really focused on learning. That is our mission. We want to increase thinking, improve learning for students using the most cutting edge technology that there is, right? And so AI is here to stay. It is not going anywhere. And one of my very first meetings as a Pearson rep, I was meeting with the math. Yeah.
Department chair, yeah.
Yeah. Department chair. And we had this whole conversation about AI, and it was the first time for me that I was thinking oh wow, this is going to be something that we're talking about, right? Going forward. So we introduced these in a beta version last fall in a few titles. So it's going to roll out into titles, not one by one, but over the course of time. But this title will have an edition. So we really wanted to. That's fun. You can go ahead. I'll tell you in advance, I guess. So first we have it in our e-text. It's going to show up in the e-text. It'll be there as three main things it does, just automatically. So explain, summarize, and practice. I'll show you that. But then the students can interact with the e-text in any way. They can ask questions, they can create flashcards and that sort of thing. And they can basically just have a conversation with the bot. We found that students found this on their own, and they also, it increased their engagement about 50%. I know that's important, you guys, right? We're doing several readings and those sorts of things. At least some of you are. And so it really did increase that engagement. And one of the things, you can go ahead and go to the next one. So we are also introducing it into Match. We started as hard as really challenge ourselves in chemistry. And what we wanted to do was to, again, increase that critical thinking, right? Not just give them the answers, but take an opportunity when they make a mistake and turn it into breaking down things more simply for them. Sort of like you would do in your office hours. And take the place of you, of course, but this is for when you're at home studying, keeps them there, increases their confidence. Okay, the next one. So we have had tens of thousands of students. We've had a lot of interactions with the beta version. And so, as I said before, it's rolling out the titles. And we have found that students who use the AI study tool spent more time in the courseware. 75% of those that we were in the beta trial said that was helpful or very helpful. It's pretty good statistics, for something like this. And we did do focus groups with students, with instructors, that sort of thing. And the final slide I'll show is just some quotes. And these are from students and instructors and what they're seeing. I won't read those all to you, but I'll just point out a few things. One student just said, I felt more prepared for class, quizzes, and exams all around, which is what we want. And then even an instructor, said here that they love that explain tool within the e-text, which I'll show you. And then it was great because you could get to it at any time and the answers were correct, because everything with our AI study tool is then here. So the stats I've heard about just AI in general is about 40% correct. And so that is something we don't want to have happening, right? We want them to be in the trusted content, and we want it to be something you trust and that is actually benefiting your students. So using it in a safe way. So any questions before I dive into your course, kind of show you a little bit? Okay.
Yeah, I do want to interject two things. These are two stats I love. So in the middle of April, we passed 1 million interactions with our AI study tool. Okay, so it is in beta, it's still learning, but we crossed over between, whatever last fall, so August till middle of April, we had 1 million different interactions with students. So students are using them and finding them on their own. And then the other stat that April mentioned, which is my absolute favorite, is that they're 50% more likely to stay in the e-text if they're using the AI study tool. And I know you guys you may have already gotten there, but for me, when I'm looking for something I can't find, I go to YouTube, right? How do I install the drain or fix this wax seal on the bottom of the toilet or whatever, right? Do I go back and fix the wax seal on the bottom of the toilet? No, I watch 6 more YouTube videos about unrelated things, and then I do it, right? And so that's what I love about this, is that it's keeping them in the e-text. They can find these answers on ChatGPT. They can find maybe they can find them on YouTube. It's keeping them in trusted content, and it's keeping them focused too, which I think is just so powerful. So I love it.
Thank you. So this is actually in the 7th edition right now. It's under instructor tools, so where the assignments are. So that's where I'm going to demo it from. So you guys can get here and play around with it. I think it's under this library. What's going to be the most powerful for you is to get in and play with it. And just because, first of all, for starters, you're way more knowledgeable than I am about biology. So you're gonna be able to actually interact with it in a harder way than I can, but I can still show. At least get you there. So I'm gonna go, I think that, so this right now, it's available for multiple choice questions without videos. Yeah, so. And again, almost will expand. How much? You can go ahead and just choose like multiple choice that I already had selected. Right, so you see you have a question. What would researchers have to demonstrate to convince you they had discovered life in another planet? So you don't see any bots on here, any little, talking head. So the students will not see anything in mastering until they make a mistake. And then we're going to see it pop up. So I'm going to make a mistake. Don't worry, I practice this at home. So submit. So here it says incorrect. And then it says, hey, would you like some guidance? This one impact your score, etc. So I'm going to start to give it a try. So then it's asking, it's kind of breaking down the question, right? So it's saying, what of the following is not a basic characteristic of life? So we're just going to say ability to process information. Use my big screen at home. Check answer. Not saying consider how organisms interact. Choose a different answer. Okay. So, all right, fine. Let's say check answer. And then the student also can give us a thumbs up or a thumbs down. That just helps the bot learn, right? So then it goes on to this next thing, which is the following is not necessary for entities to be considered. Okay. So you can kind of see how it interacts with the student. So you can also type in give
What if you say
give me
my
an answer.
What is the
So it's giving me the answer for that
Yeah.
section that I just added, right?
But if you ask for the answer to this question,
Yeah, to
or
that
if you
question,
copy and
it'll
paste it
say-
in, yeah.
That's what it tells me now. So tell me about not say country Napa. So this is why I want you to play with it. You can kind of just mess around with it, right? Sorry that I'm unable to provide information about that. But then it does go on to.
It tells you
something
this.
about Michigan.
Sound good?
And I'm gonna say like, have a great. So, one of the things students told us initially, like, we want it to be more interactive and be like a whole person. So we did try to beef up some of the support. Hey, do you have a good week? Yeah, too. That's awesome. So that's kind of how it works in here. You all can play around with it, even within Freeman. Now, what you got? Now I'm going to go outside of this because it is not live in the text right now. So I'm going to go to Campbell Biology and show you.
You like that it only gets information that's within the text. Because like when they go and Google or look at another source, they can find answers that might be true, but that might be what you were teaching this section or this resource or.
Yes, it's only going to feed from Pearson content. So it's a controlled chaos, right? It's a controlled version of AI, which we think is a really responsible way to use it.
I'm going to pop into this e-text. All right. Now here you're going to see that the bot is there right away. So it shows, it's like, hey, here I am. So it's there for the students to see. So they know it's there. They can start interacting with it. It kind of shows them a little bit. It's kind of letting them know, hey, I'm here. These are some things I can help you with. What are you interested in? So I'm gonna. These are the three things I was telling you about, that it can summarize, explain, or you can ask it to create practice questions like what the practice is. And you can highlight this section. It'll ask you this chapter, this whole section. What would you like? So we're gonna, play around with that a little bit. I'm into hearing, because it's my background. I have a background in hearing science. So I was like, oh, I sort of know, but I'm typing in here. So you should see me demo something like this. Way more about it. Promise you. Okay, so here we are in this section. I'm just gonna say something. And so see, it's gonna ask me, I'm just gonna say, how about this current section? Send. And then here you've got a sample. So about how the cochlea works. I didn't practice this one, so let's see what it says. Okay, so then it basically talks about how the cochlea works, inner part of the ear, blah, blah, blah. You could say,
Images?
what you said?
Can you show images?
I have not
No,
seen
I
it
haven't.
show images.
Yeah, that's a good
No.
question.
Yeah, even though, you'll have your images send up just
Mhm.
here, right?
Well, can we try it? They show me an image in the method.
Yeah, let's do it.
I can't do that, or I can do that.
And,
So-
uh,
Something you guys will find interesting is our director of portfolio management, which is basically the person who's in charge of editorial and digital content for the sciences.
Yeah, that's good.
That's actually better than I thought. I know what to expect.
and it is learning, right? As we,
Yeah.
it's learning this whole time, I think. Sorry, Kelly, what were you saying? You got.
Oh, no.
sidetracked.
So I was just saying, I think that y'all will find it interesting that our the head of our portfolio management for the sciences, his name's Chris Hess. Dr. Hess, as he likes to be referred to, and I tease him endlessly about that, but he's actually a biologist, and he was just hired as Pearson's new head of AI development at Pearson. So that's going to be his new role. So you guys should feel pretty good that a biologist is going to be heading up Pearson's AI team, which I just think is so cool.
Say like, plain pitch. Oh, I spelled it wrong too. Let's see if it works. You spell it.
It did, yeah.
Oh, good.
It's good. It's gonna spell it. It's okay.
So anyway, let's see how this works. So I'm gonna go new to pick. And then let's just say, this. So where should I pull these questions from? I would like the current section. What kind of questions do you want? Multiple choice, send. And so here's 5 questions. So you can go and like answer these and submit. So it's really, really interactive. And students really liked it. You can see how it would keep them engaged more. I mean, I think they think it's kind of fun too. To interact with the e-text in this way. I mean, as you all know, the e-text is very interactive already. Like they can highlight the flashcards, things. But this just takes it, I think, to a whole nother level. So, questions? Anything else I missed, you guys, that you want?
I mean, honestly, I think they're gonna do that anyways. Why not doing it in the context of textbook? Like you said, not get distracted. If you YouTube videos, in class, the face, everything comes at you, you get sidetracked. So I mean, I like this too. I like the fact that they can read and think themselves. Right there. That's my strategy in my classroom when I teach.
Yep.
When I talk a little bit, and then I make sure that they got it. Otherwise, if I keep talking, I know that they're on their things.
Right.
And so this would keep them focused. I
That's
think.
right.
I like it. I mean, I'm not using your book, but I like it.
But you can.
I'm not teaching class. I use this book, but in future, I appreciate it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then it's just FYI, it's something you can turn off too at the course level, right? If you don't want them to have access to it, turn it off.
That's right.
But it is a very cool tool. I do like demoing in physics or like chemistry. I'm semi comfortable in biology, physics, and chemistry. I'm way out of my depth. And so like I'll get in chapters, I'll be like, explain to me hydrophobic bonds like I'm 5. And it does, right? And so I think like as a student, like that's how they talk to ChatGPT. That's how they can talk to the AI study tool. And so I like that about, yeah, I like it.
Yeah. Any questions you guys have right now? Then we can, I guess Corey will be up next.
Do it. All right. Yeah, do you mind pulling up that link and I'll just kind of start talking and I kind of reference it as we go. So this interactive readings are a new feature that's going to be in Freeman 8E. We're rolling it out in maybe, I'd say about 10 different titles in the fall. Freeman happens to be one of them. As a former teacher, I'm incredibly excited about it. So, yeah, hit Freeman for me. Perfect. Okay, so this is what it looks like. I'll kind of reference as we go. First and foremost, this is the most read book of my entire life. Has anyone read this? Yes. It's called Make It Stick. Yeah, it's called Make It Stick. And so I own the book. I also own the Audible, and I also own it on Kindle. I have read it, right? And so it started with Audible, and I got that. And then like I upgraded and got the Kindle version. But I wanted to take the notes, right? And so I ended up buying it in physical copy. I've probably read it 4 or 5 times. I'm not an expert in it, but it explains learning so well. So yeah, I know. And if you haven't read it and you're interested, please let me know. So there's 2 topics I kind of want to introduce this with. One is, and just give me a nod or raise your hand if you've heard of this. One is a highly structured classroom, highly structured course, highly structured learning. The other is retrieval practice. Kind of familiar? Okay. So highly structured classroom is exactly what it sounds like, or a highly structured course is exactly what it sounds like. And it actually came up in this book, right? So I'm going to kind of flip to the page. I'm not going to read this book to you, but I was reviewing the interactive readings, which is what I'm talking about. You may have not known that because I haven't mentioned it yet. But it talks about right here on page 42 of the book, it talks about in all studies of testing that we did of significant consequence, right? And that they're looking at all that. Students who were tested frequently, right? Whether it was quizzes every week, 10 exams throughout the semester, rated those courses way higher than ones that were tested infrequently. We've seen that in our own testing with students, right? We do focus group with students. Do you prefer to have like that highly structured class where you're told, I do this on Monday, this on Tuesday, this on Wednesday, or do you prefer to have a midterm and a final? Okay. Students like to be told what to do, okay? That's the idea of a highly structured class, okay? The other piece that I said I was going to talk about was retrieval practice. So the other thing that we know about learning is that when you read something and you reread it and you reread it, it's not a very effective way of learning. It's actually a detriment to the student because it gives them a false sense of confidence. Okay, so the better thing to do is what we call retrieval practice, where you read a little bit and then you stop and you think about it, or you summarize, or you answer the quiz questions that Kelly showed us. Students don't do that. There's a quote in this book from Aristotle. It was like 2,500 years ago. They knew that retrieval practice worked better than rereading. We don't do it, right? 2,500 years ago, they knew it. I don't do it. The first thing I do when I was grabbing this book is I reread it, right? I mean, like as much as I know, as much as we know about it, we still don't practice it very well. So all of that being said, we got this new feature called interactive reading. And for Freeman, they're all pre-built for you. Okay, so our subject matter experts, our authors have gone together and they've pre-built out what we call interactive readings. You don't have to use them. You can build your own from scratch, or you can use the ones we have. But I love the idea of this from a learning science perspective, because what it does is it still has them in the book. They're still reading, okay? But they read one section, 2 sections actually, right? They read 2 sections and then they do a quiz. they read another section, and then they do a quiz, right? And these quizzes, I'm calling them quizzes, but they're really just homework assignments, right? Even multi-part homework assignments here. And so what it's doing to them is it's forcing them to read that little bit and then interact with what they just did. Okay, so I read a little bit about photosynthesis, and then I'm going to answer 2 questions about it. And if I do it well, it's retrieval practice. It's bringing it in and out of my brain, in and out of my memory. If I don't do well, I can go back and reference. I can use the AI study tool. I can use my flashcards. And so I'm not going to dig too into the weeds about exactly what we're doing here, what these are going to look like. I just want to talk about them as being a new feature. I'll kind of show you what they look like. They're really nice. They're built in.
Yeah, I think most of us do.
But
Jeremy does.
is that on steroids a little bit? You know, because you're adding in the question, quizzes, whatever they're called, you know, you want to call them, I guess.
Yeah, that's exactly it. It's scheduled readings on steroids. It's a really great learning tool. It's a new feature. We're excited about it in other places. I'm really excited about it in places like Freeman because we have pre-built for you, right? You have a starting point. We're not saying, hey, here's this new feature, go spend 25 hours building out these really challenging, highly structured homework assignments, right? You can start here, okay? And so I am personally very excited about it for all 300 pages of reasons right here that I love so much. So does anybody have any questions about these, about how they're set up, what they are?
So this is really nice. This is how my class is set up.
Yes.
Yeah. I thought, again, I thought, but have them do call and practice what we just said. And the students liked it. I did mid-semester analysis, you know, just informal, and the student liked that. But the question is, like, okay, so and we are reading the textbook just from beginning to the end of the chapter, versus doing these activities while they're like a whole time. How much of the time in between if they are trying to practice this kind of reading rather than just regular reading? That was my question. Just a simple question. I'm interested and they want to do this. They not on their own. They just lap as much as they want to.
Yes. So yeah. So I'm gonna defer to Kelly in just a moment to see if Kelly, did you hear that? Do we have like a time estimate of these pre-builds?
That's a good question. Yes. So there's going to be a time estimate of the pre-builts, and then you will be able to edit them. So the pre-builts are just going to be a good jumping off point for you all. We're going to have these across disciplines, you know, chemistry, biology, and then they're going to come to physics, but oh, and they're in A&P as well. But yes, you'll be able to edit them, and there will be a time limit, or not a time limit, I'm sorry, an estimated time to complete.
So can they select like how much budget, how much time they can budget for this? For
Yes.
each chapter?
Yes.
Based
Yeah.
on their, like how much knowledge I have, pre knowledge I have.
Yeah, and you can say, and the other piece of this too is you can set the readings up as for you can set them up for points. You can set them up for practice, so they don't actually have to read, right? They just go through. What we're doing is we're trying to force them to study in the most efficient, effective way possible. They don't have to do that, and beyond that, you also have the ability to edit things down, pull things out. If there's sections you don't cover, pull it out, right? You know, and so, or just maybe only put the most important things in. Just kind of depends on how you want to teach your class and what you want to give to them.
So if they do these activities, you can provide incentives, and then at what point they would hold points.
This would be in place of homework.
Basically.
Yes. Yep. Yeah. It's kind of where we found it best used.
Otherwise, they may not do it.
No, 100%. Yeah, there are. Yeah, the way that we have these set up, pre-built in here, they're in place of homework. They're to emphasize good study skills, and they get points for them, right? And so they wouldn't have homework. They would just have their interactive reading trademark, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. All right.
I
Anybody else have any questions? Oh, sorry.
sorry, go
Something
ahead.
to add, Charlie? No, please do.
No, I was just gonna say, I'm in my MBA program right now, and I have wonderful instructors at the University of Utah that provide great lecture videos and readings, and it's definitely highly structured, right? Everything is structured for me, but I would kill to have something where I can read a little bit, answer some questions, or watch a little bit. And right now I'm having to have like a million devices over here, and they don't all open at the same time. So as a student, this would be incredibly beneficial to me. Um, and I think we're very, very excited about them. And we did mention this last year, but uh, there's always been the ability to assign reading and mastering. That's going to continue with this interactive assignment in the new version. No, sorry, not the new version of mastering, our updated version of mastering, which Freeman 8th edition will be in. And you will. So if the student goes and spends time in their e-text and they're interacting with the AI study tool, they're highlighting their note taking, whatever they're doing in there, that is actually going to be tracked. And it's available for you as instructors in your gradebook. So at any time, you guys will be able to go into your gradebook and check out the reading dashboard and see data and analytics on your class as a whole and their engagement with the e-text, and then each individual student and how much time they spent reading, how many notes and highlights they created. So all of that is going to continue to be available in the mastering update. And speaking with that, I know that we are, Corey, I wanted to make sure I didn't cut you off, first of all. That was awesome.
We're good. I can go on forever.
And I know we want to be cognizant of time. So I know you guys have been here for a long time, so I don't want to take any more of your time. The last thing I was going to do is go over learning catalytics for anyone that wants to see a couple or just like be introduced to it, or go over briefly the mastering updates that we're making to the platform, just so you guys know what to expect.
The mastering updates would be more useful.
Mastering
Yep.
update, Ellie, if you didn't hear that, would be.
Perfect.
Yeah, like learning catalytics, people are either using the system that comes from UT or Crystal and I, we're using it, but yeah, mastering not pretty more valuable. than
Awesome.
You'll have to
Awesome.
spend right here if you want to use.
Yeah. Yeah.
Clicker questions come up in here too. Live response questions.
That's Corey, but.
I know it is. I love it.
I think you wrote.
Oh my gosh, I wish. I think these guys are Missouri. They're in St. Louis. All right, sorry. Mastering updates, Kellers.
Yeah, and exactly. So anyone, I know that you guys are, and I'm gonna kind of just, I want to acknowledge that you guys are kind of meeting. For those of you that teach the introductory, well, I should say the non-majors kind of biology track. I know you guys have been meeting to discuss and build your topics and learning outcomes, and that's an ongoing process. April, Corey, and I are here to help you with that process. Whenever you guys are ready to ask us or involve us, we can even have our faculty advisors or subject matter experts, help map your topics and learning objectives when you're done to any of our non-majors texts like Belk or Eric Simon's The Core. So anyway, I did want to mention that. So wherever you guys are in that process, please keep April, Corey, and I updated. And then the mastering platform update. So you guys are in mastering biology now. We are very excited because we've been working on this for several years, actually, to bring some really exciting updates and enhancements to mastering. So most of these are actually instructor benefits, which yay, because we build so many amazing tools and great things for students, like our interactive assignments and our AI study tool. But a lot of these updates are actually going to be really beneficial for you as educators. So the first one that you can see here on the screen is the updated version of mastering so once you guys move into 8th edition, and there's no push to move into 8th edition, that's April and Corey can talk to you guys about that. Whenever you guys are ready, the secure testing and proctoring. So our updated version has a partnership and a lockdown browser with Respondus Monitor proctoring. So if you guys want to deliver exams, so if any of your sections are online, this is a great way for you to feel comfortable delivering exams or quizzes via mastering. Okay. Course coordinator. So what this course coordinator and member course functionality is, okay, let's say Crystal, you are teaching, you are building a course shell for your non-majors course, and you want, to allow all the other instructors to have access to this shell that you guys have all worked on together. And so you would be the course coordinator, let's say, and you'd have the master course. All the other instructors could enroll as member course sections. And then let's say, Crystal, you guys are meeting and they say, hey, Crystal, can you please remove that question? We decided we don't want to put that in the assignment. Okay, Crystal removes it from the coordinator course. Now it is removed from all of the courses. Okay, this is a really, really nice way as you guys are continuing to meet for majors or non-majors for you guys to be really consistent and make changes, updates, flow seamlessly from one course to many courses. Any questions about that? No? Okay. And then, so, and I should also say, that all of these features are already available for our, like this, it's not like this is something that we don't already have. We're just bringing it to the sciences. So this is already available in our math software. And if any of you want to see what these look like, I can show you guys at any time. Just ask me. I'm happy to set up a meeting with you guys. April and I are happy to do that with you. But this one right here, this is enhanced performance analytics. This is probably what you guys are going to love, those of you that are using mastering quite a bit. And those of you that aren't, this is going to be a great reason to search email by criteria. You can really easily search your gradebook and make it really easy to find students, and then you can email them right from the gradebook. Inactivity alerts, days since they last submitted an assignment, really easy way for you to identify those students who maybe haven't been keeping up to date with their coursework. Performance by chapter, you get to see all of this really strong data and analytics. And then there's going to be just some course management settings, bulk editing settings. One of the ones that I really like that the update is going to have is called tagging. Do you guys have any groups of students that you guys maybe give additional time on assignments? Or, yeah, I see some nodding. Okay, so that's a great one. Tagging is not visible to students, but let's say you have a large class, 100 students, and 30 of them are allotted extra time because of a disability, right? You internally tag those students. When you apply that tag to an assignment, after you've done the initial tag, it automatically provides them with that extra time and you don't have to do that again, which is really, really nice. Or maybe you have student athletes and you want to extend the due date because they have an out-of-town game. Okay, that makes it easy way for you to tag those students in mastering. So those are just some examples of the updates that the 8th edition is going to have in our updated version of mastering, and I wanted to share them with you. Questions, comments? I want to hear what you guys have to say.
Yeah. You can tag them as multiple things. You can tag them as if they're 150, also taking 160, also taking Chem 122. And then you can go through and export data and sort them by their tag. I know. Yeah. It's the small, it feels like such a small thing sometimes, but when you start thinking about how can we apply this to what we're worried about now? How can we apply this to make our lives easier or to address different student needs? Like that's a really great feature that I'm also excited about, Kelly. I love the tagging.
Love it.
From the 7th edition to the 8th edition. So my understanding is that we need to adopt it sometime within the next 12 months.
It's the August 25th.
Yep.
Yeah, latest that we can adopt. We've got a year to delay if we wanted to.
Absolutely.
As far as differences and images, so let's say we decide to adopt now, but I don't want to go through and update all of my stuff. How big of a difference is it for me to be teaching, to keep my materials in the 7th edition, but the students are reading the 8th edition?
You're like,
or
Helen?
vice versa, right? I'm kind of trying to decide, like, do we tell them,
Yeah,
hey, stop now and it's fine, we'll take our time to update our materials, or is it really like, if you're gonna do it, you need to also build in time to be updating your own teaching materials?
Right.
Okay, so my answer for this is not meant in a degrading way to students. However, I would say that you are going to be fine taking your time updating, any small content changes or image changes. I'm trying to say it nicely. I don't think they're going to notice. What's a, is that a, is it-
Rethink the 8th edition, pull the trigger on it, go ahead, but not if it's gonna force all of our instructors when they're not ready.
Right.
Have to update all of their stuff or find out that all of their old mastering questions and things now just, all their old assignments now just blow up. So kind of to take that into account of, do we adopt now or do we adopt in a year?
Yep. I completely understand. So those of you that have assignments built now, those will be able to copy over. And then, except for anything that was changed or removed from the 7th edition to the 9th, or I'm sorry, to the 8th edition, but you would be given information on that. And this document that we're going to share with you gives some really specific and detailed ones. But you're not going to have to recreate your course if that's kind of what you're asking. It's going to be, it's not going to be a crazy difficult process for you. But again, that's a discussion between you all and your department. And April and Corey can share. I'm not well versed in the kind of.
So if I go to the 8th edition, is that now, that figure look differently? Is it now 10.4? Like those small things, but those take an incredible amount of time for instructors to kind of make those minute adjustments.
Right.
Yep.
How much are the figures kind of redrawn? How much is had like the page?
So they do
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is a good example here. There's a new image here in 1.9. If you want, we could let me ask Rebecca if we could get like a count, if that would be helpful, right? Because this goes detail by detail, but maybe we have, okay, how many new figures do we have that were just completely new and weren't not in the 7th edition? How many figures were updated from, does that make sense? Would like a summary document be helpful?
Yeah, it was more just that kind of answer, like, if I'm showing this picture, how much the students are gonna be like, whoa, that's not my textbook.
So yeah, I guess this outline.
This one makes me laugh. It must have been a baby newt before, and now it'll be a baby.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what that is, but. This is the man behind the curtain right here. It's changing baby newts to baby birds.
There you go. I'm still waiting for there to be a plan from the cover of Freeman. That's my dream one.
I have a
This
question from
Campbell
Stephanie.
does flowers.
I
I
am.
know.
It's random, so I don't know if I've got it now or when. Stephanie wanted to ask about copyright. So Stephanie teaches biology 160 and she also teaches genetics.
Yeah.
And she likes to, or she's wanting to show some of the figures from the 160 text in her genetics classroom because some of them, she uses the 160 text and she knows that figure well and it explains things very well. And a lot of the students have taken the 160 with her. And so it's a direct kind of, she wonders, is she allowed to show a Freeman figure in her genetics class? Is that a copyright issue?
What's total access and she just select those books.
No, that is fine.
Do that. Just kind of made me
Yeah.
think this is a good question anyway, because
It is a
in
good
my presentations, for example, if we do adopt, I'm not going to go and change all of those. I do show pictures from other sources and things like that, from the web, and I'm kind of wondering copyright.
Yeah. Kelly, do you have a good PC answer for that?
So my answer is that you guys are using us for 160, you know what I mean? If they want to pull some of those images over into their genetics PowerPoints, that's fine. I have no problem with that. I think that they just asked that be cited, right? Pulled from Freeman Biological Science, 7th edition, 8th edition. And you guys know that. I actually think it usually embeds that on the image or on that slide. So it shouldn't be a big, and that's fine.
And they use us for genetics too.
Yeah, of course, yes. And there's kind of a shared there's kind of a shared mentality too. Like if you guys want to pull other test bank questions and you are like, hey, I like these ones from Freeman, but like I want to trick, I don't want to like give my students the same wording and I want to pull some from Campbell and then edit them. You guys are always welcome to pull questions from Campbell Biology or Campbell Biology in Focus as well and use those in your exams.
It does pull up on the instructor resources, so you just.
Yeah.
You know, the same.
Right, I see what you're saying.
Family involved.
I'm always curious what other people say, because I'm always like, whatever, you know.
Yeah,
it's
it's hard to
learning.
Yeah.
Yeah, the book talks about interleaving, it's interleaving, right? So I'm always curious what other people say.
Okay, thank you all so much. Are there any other questions?
Oh, he's got a question.
Resources that we can point the students to help them navigate the textbook and all these new features. So is there something that we can say, you all need to watch this video and it will explain all the great features of the new textbook?
So,
Oh, go ahead, Kelly. Let me see what you.
so one of the things that I think is really is always overlooked. I even overlook it and I don't always talk about it, but I really should, is that in every mastering course, when you first create it, there's actually an assignment called Introduction to Mastering Biology. Y'all probably delete it, skip over it. I forget about it sometimes. But then when I show these features, like the e-text, for example, most students, not most students, if they don't open the e-text, they don't know about them. Or if they do open the e-text and just didn't pay attention to the sidebar, and all those really cool tools, they don't realize we have all these great features. So my first recommendation is number one, I would assign the Introduction to Mastering Biology assignment. I don't know when your Canvas courses go live and students can access it, but this would be like, hey, read the syllabus, do your Introduction to Mastering. It tells you like, hey, here's mastering, here's like your kind of questions. I like this one, Mastering Your e-text, because it goes through the features in the e-text and it tells them how to navigate it, right? Like, hey, what's this little button? Oh, that's the home button. What does it do? Oh, there's a search function in my e-text. Well, that's cool. And there's, highlighting. There's, oh, my e-text has audio capabilities. That's amazing. I didn't know that. So that would be my first suggestion. And then the second one would be, April will send this to you. And I'm going to actually, that's a good note. I'm going to suggest that we embed, an item there in that introduction to mastering item on, the AI tools.
Yeah.
And because I think that students are going to discover them, but I think that they need to know about them because a big part of my job is doing focus groups, and all of my focus groups lately, I'm like, hey, what do you want? Like, what can we do here at Pearson to make your life easier as a student? And they're like, I want pre-built flashcards. You like Quizlet. And I'm like, oh, we already have those that are in our e-text, but they didn't know about them, right? And I'm like, oh, well, what do you want? They want simulations, they want videos, but they sometimes, if the instructor isn't assigning them or they just didn't see them, they don't know they're there. So I'm going to ask our team that we update that intro assignment with the AI tools. And then for the titles that are going to have it. And then April and I will also provide you a video with those, so you guys can post that in your welcome to my course module.
Yeah, one thing that I know that you have a student on campus who's made some videos, and we did, all were provided with that video. I don't know if you used it. But if we can get more of those links, because then we can build a common Canvas page that has all of those links.
Oh, yeah.
Linked to right, you can embed the that introduction to mastering biology in the Canvas page. And so we can put all of those things together.
Yeah.
Say to do, did anyone use the video? You'll find it helpful.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think most
I'm not sure if our students watched it, but it was provided to the students.
Well, I can have her do one, redo it, but just with, some of the AI stuff.
Yeah, that would be great.
And it'll make it a little, have it longer, because I want her to get to it, but we'll try to really.
Yeah.
So that's a good, in the introduction to the book, it's a good idea. And sometimes I don't do it, and I miss out on all the activities that I could have used.
Yeah.
How do we, is this like is it like a quiz afterward? We say, okay, I'm gonna assign you to this, it's this many points, like we have a quiz in the syllabus. right? Is it a quiz like that at the end? Like you
Yes,
guys-
so that's an assignment. It has questions tied to it. So that you can set a grade for it. You could give them, you could give them for, credit, 10 points, 5 points, whatever you want, practice, or even extra credit. Hey, if you do this, like, I feel like you get extra credit if you complete this assignment and, you're ready to go.
Yeah.
That's right. Do anybody track there? Because I've done I make these scheduled readings and it went from like maybe 20% maybe they read it to less than 5%. And the number one feedback I've gotten is that we don't feel like the textbook is helping learning. And I'm like, it is, because it's amazing. The textbook is excellent, but you're not reading it. And so I was like, I just know it's been funny. It's been a challenge for me. I wanted to see the walkthrough of the interactive reading. I know, I had to run out for meeting with the TA. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna try to put points to it in the fall, because the students who can read the book are so much better. But one thing, it just takes me too long to read it, and I'm like, it doesn't. Please read it. I don't know how to do it. This is gonna be kind of read a little, and like do a little quiz.
Yes,
I saw that. Yeah.
So good.
I think you'll really like it. I'm excited about that
I am
change.
too.
But yes,
I thought of you immediately. I was like,
yeah, because I know how helpful it is. I don't know how to explain to them that it is a different, yeah, it sounds a little bit different than how I talk about material, and that's the point.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Variability, the topic in here is
I just want to
the
memorize.
time learning,
They
yeah.
do. They do. Yeah, I think, so I will watch the video, figure out how to implement those, because yes, I had to run out to talk to one of the TAs, but yeah. Because I'm really, it's not bad.
Yes.
See if I can maybe not bring it faster. I know. A couple like. Thank you so much. Technology is embedded in this, so it's constantly trying to figure out how to. I've been using that solution to do it, so to get students set up with the textbook. And then faster.
Thanks, guys. It was great to see you all virtually. I hope you have a wonderful summer. Please email me if you need anything. And don't forget, we're here to help with your non-majors discussions.
It is